I quit on the spot even though we were understaffed and it made my manager cry. I worked at this clothing store in the mall called Thread & Co. The whole place was divided into 3 sections: men's, women's, and kids. I always worked the women's section, and during weekdays I was literally the only person there, like completely alone in that entire half of the store. So yesterday, I clocked in with 2 other employees. My manager Lisa pulled me aside right away and goes, "Your dad's called the store 5 times asking for your schedule. Tell him to stop." I was so confused because that didn't sound like my dad at all. He's never even called me at work before, let alone 5 times in one day. I immediately texted him, "Did you call my work today?" He texted back super fast saying he'd never called my store once in his life. My stomach dropped. I had this awful feeling creeping up my spine. I walked back over to Lisa, who was folding some sweaters, and asked, "Did you give my dad my schedule?" She said yes without even looking up. That's when I told her that wasn't my dad, and she had absolutely no right giving some random stranger my work schedule. She finally looked at me and got this annoyed expression. She rolled her eyes and said I was being dramatic and it wasn't a big deal. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Some random man had been calling my workplace multiple times asking when I'd be there, and she just handed over that information. I started thinking about all the possibilities. Was this some creepy customer who'd been watching me? Someone who knew where I lived? My brain was spiraling thinking about walking to my car alone after closing shifts. The parking garage was already sketchy enough without knowing some weirdo had my exact schedule. Lisa kept folding clothes like nothing happened. She actually shrugged at me. That's when I realized she genuinely didn't understand how dangerous this was. A complete stranger now knew exactly when and where to find me, and she acted like I was overreacting. I looked around the store. It was just me, Lisa, and 2 other employees for the entire 3-section store. We were already stretched thin, and I knew if I left, they'd be completely screwed. But I also knew I couldn't stay there knowing my safety had been compromised, and my manager didn't even care. "I'm done," I said. I quit. Lisa's face completely changed. She dropped the sweater she was holding and started following me as I walked to get my stuff from the break room. "Wait, you can't be serious. We're already understaffed. Please don't do this to us." But I was already taking off my name tag and grabbing my water bottle. "You gave a stranger my personal information and told me I was being dramatic. I'm not staying somewhere where my safety doesn't matter." She started getting frantic, begging me not to leave. "I'm sorry, okay? I didn't think about it like that. Please stay. We need you." Her voice was getting shaky. I turned around and looked at her. "You need me, but you don't respect me. There's a difference." I started walking toward the exit. That's when she actually started crying, like full-on tears streaming down her face. She was panicking about having to run the entire store with just 2 people. She kept apologizing and saying she'd never give out my information again, but it was too late. The thing that really got to me was when she said, "You're really going to leave us like this?" Like I was the bad person for protecting myself after she'd put me in danger. The guilt trip was unreal. I walked out while she was still crying in the middle of the store. The 2 other employees just stared at me as I left. I could see the panic in their eyes knowing they'd have to cover the entire store now. My phone started blowing up 20 minutes later, Lisa texting me begging me to come back. Then the assistant manager called asking what happened. Even one of my coworkers texted saying Lisa was having a breakdown and they really needed me. But I couldn't get over the fact that some random man now knew my schedule. Every time I thought about going back, I imagined him showing up during one of my shifts when I was alone in that section. The whole thing gave me chills. The next day, Lisa called me one more time. She was still crying on the phone, saying she understood why I was upset, but couldn't I please consider coming back? She promised to never give out personal information again and said she'd learned her lesson. I told her the lesson should have been learned before she put me in danger, not after. Some things you don't get a second chance with. She hung up crying again.